Welcome to Museums Matters, a series of FB live streams by the Vibal Group, Chinatown Museum, and the Iloilo Museum of Contemporary Art, in collaboration with Ateneo Art Gallery and the Yuchengco Museum. Museums Matter aims to be a platform for museums and a resource for teachers who are looking to museum collections to support digital learning. I'm Yuri Tamura, the museum officer and your host for the Museum Matters live stream. How Contemporary Art Museum programs support digital learning aims to give teachers more insight on the programs of selected contemporary art museums for them to utilize these during their online lectures. Our first speaker for today is Ma'am Boots Herrera. She is currently the director and chief curator of the Ateneo Art Gallery. Before joining Ateneo de Manila University, she was a regular faculty for more than 20 years at the Department of Art Studies in UP Diliman. Courses taught include art appreciation, Western art history, and curatorship. She was seconded twice to the CCP as the Director of Visual Arts and Museum Division, first in 1995 to 1997, and more recently in January 2012 to April 2015. Since 2009, she has been a lecturer for the BFA in Arts Management program in Ateneo de Manila University, where she teaches curatorship and collections management. She has earned degrees in economics, humanities, and Philippine studies. She co-authored the book The Life and Art of Lee Aguinaldo in 2011, published by AAG and Vibal, that won the Alfonso T. Ongpin Best Book on Art Prize by the National Book Development Award in 2012. Everyone, let's give Ma'am Boots a warm welcome. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you to the Chinatown Museum and Mega World Foundation for this invitation and for organizing the series of webinars focused on linking educators with cultural institutions. I want to start by saying that Ateneo Art Gallery is actually celebrating its 60th anniversary this month until we're doing a 1-year program. Unfortunately, during the time of lockdown, but we will manage. And as you will see, we have quite an active program online. I'm also pleased to share this afternoon session with my colleague Danny Alvarez from the Yuchengco Museum, who is the president of the Alliance of Greater Manila Area Museums, or AGMAM. We all know how important it is to encourage and nurture different avenues of engagement while we ensure that education and learning opportunities continue even while we are on quarantine. My presentation this afternoon is in a way a continuation of the one I did in the early months of the quarantine period last May 2020 at a webinar organized by the Lopez Museum and AGMAM. That time we were just starting to grasp the gravity of the pandemic and how it will be affecting our programs. It was therefore important for our team in Ateneo Art Gallery to take stock of the resources within our reach and to develop a more proactive role towards working with educators. Before, exhibitions have been our primary mode of interaction with the public. Guided educational tours and collateral activities such as artist talks, were organized as complementary activities to exhibitions. We value how actual museum visits allow students to grow in terms of their knowledge. Exposure to different situations and ideas can cultivate better individuals and citizens. And I am certain this is still a mission that we all share. And this is still possible as we strengthen existing programs and explore new modes of programming to facilitate blended and online learning. So just to give you an idea of an overview of our program scope. So Ateneo Art Gallery is known for its collection of Philippine post-war modern art as well as contemporary art. We have active engagements with contemporary artists and curators through the Ateneo Art Awards and changing exhibition programs. The image you see on your left is a work done by Archie Oclos, which was part of the Ateneo Art Awards in 2019. It's actually a recreation of a mural he did for his CCP 13 Artist Awards exhibit the previous year. These are examples of works that we have exhibited in our new space here in Arete. These are works by artists who were part of the Ateneo Art Awards. Ryan Villamael, a winner in 2015. Dr. Carayam was shortlisted twice. And then the snake installation is by Krista Nogueras. Oops, wait, sorry. I'm losing I can't find my cursor. Excuse me, okay.
So for those who have not been to the Ateneo Art Gallery, this kind of also functions as, I guess, almost a virtual tour.
Yes, wait, excuse me.
Red.
Okay, there. Can you see?
Yes, the slide is on the permanent collection.
Okay, so this is just a few of the exhibitions that we've held. The ground floor galleries are intended, or they would feature exhibits that revolve around the permanent collection. This was an exhibition called Love It and Leave It, which we had from 2018 to 2020. At the third floor, we've held special exhibitions, thematic exhibitions, and with invited curators. This was the first one that we held in 2018, which focused on conceptual art practice in the 70s, which we held in 2018, curated by Ringo Bunoan. And more recently, a photography exhibition, which was curated by Angel Velasco Shaw, which we had from November 2019 until the lockdown. We actually just completed the egress of this exhibition just 2 weeks ago. So during this quarantine period, what are our program directions? Basically, we want to develop new avenues and modes of continued public access. We want also to ensure that we continue relationships with artists, educators, and students. Why artists? Because we need to continue interacting with them, collaborating with them, especially, and these projects that we will be doing are also accessible to educators. We also want to go beyond object-based learning, mainly because access to actual objects is not possible at this point. And so we need to reimagine new relationships between museums and schools and find ways of engaging with schools virtually, offline, and eventually, when feasible, on site again. So in the last 5 months, the AAG team has been more concerned with developing online presence. At first, it was to enhance individual visitor experience through online views or visits. In recent months, enhancing programs for educators to use as part of learning modules has also been a relevant concern. We also realize, though, that accessibility via technology is not equal to everyone, not only to students, but to teachers as well. And so working with technology is not always an advantage. We need to take into account online and offline modes of learning. Our approach is to develop a mix of programs which may be accessed, used, completed, and enhanced in different modes. Our position as a university museum has also been beneficial in enhancing our role in education through collaborations with teachers and students. The Ateneo Art Gallery team has worked with art management students for their thesis projects and with students seeking to complete their internship, both from Ateneo and other schools and universities. And by the way, we would like to inform especially the teachers who are in charge of internship programs. Ateneo Art Gallery still continues with its internship program. We have been accepting interns to do online work for us. And so it's not a problem if we're on lockdown. Interns have given different perspectives and approaches to our programs. And with the guidance of our team of young curators, they have assisted in developing projects which school teachers can take on. So these are just examples of some activity sheets that the AAG team, particularly Esti Bagos, Monique Hilario, Joseph Caligner, they've been working on this activity sheet since the lockdown, and they've continued to produce a few more in collaboration with interns. So activity sheets are designed to develop observation skills, visual literacy, written and or oral communication. These may also be materials to introduce different subject areas, for example, literary education, contemporary history. For example, Lazaro Soriano's painting Jack and Poy, which is to your left, is a commentary on the political situation during the early years of Corazon Aquino's administration. This image may be used as a visual reference to historical discussion of that period. A recently released activity sheet is this word search using the painting by Ang Kyuko entitled Table of Fish. So this work can also lead to the discussion of biodiversity in the Philippines, for example, and to learn about local and scientific names of fish varieties, or even the sharing of regional recipes. So there are different aspects that you could, or angles that you can approach one artwork. The image to your right is a print by Zenon Rivera titled Fisher Folk. And this is actually a variation from the usual activity of paint by numbers, which I think is quite popular now. My nieces and sister-in-law actually has completed one recently, I was told. But this time we thought of allowing the viewer, the participant, to come up with his or her own color scheme. So you fill the colors in those boxes, and then after which you apply them on the template of the image by Zenon Rivera. These activity sheets also are opportunities for us to share information about artists. So when you go to our website and you click on these activity sheets, they're one-page activities, you actually will also see a brief write-up about artists. So that's also part of our mission to promote Philippine art and for you to get to know more about our local artists. Another activity sheet which is yet to be released is starts off from the work of Daniel Coquilla, entitled Aristocrat. And the intern, I think, sorry, I don't have the name of the intern, but he or she is from UP Diliman. I think a theater arts major. And from the painting, riddles were created or were made. So you can also do this as an exercise for your class, for your students to do. It doesn't have to be in English. It can be in English or in Filipino, but it's more of how you would use a particular image for a particular subject area. So it doesn't have to be just visual arts, or art making. Ekphrastic writing is quite a popular technique or activity here, especially in Ateneo, given its strong thrust in liberal education and the humanities. So So this is a definition of ekphrastic writing, which is employing characteristics relating to a literary device in which a painting, a sculpture, or other work of visual art is described in detail. But an ekphrastic poem, for example, can be thought of as a literary work that is filled with poetic imagery about visual imagery created by another artist. But it can also be used um, with music, for example. It doesn't have to be just visual arts or even dance. No? In 2019, one of our art management students, Cali Infante, who's now working with the Metropolitan Museum of Manila, embarked on a thesis project which involved working with members of Pugad Ateneo, a literary organization of the Ateneo Junior High School. Students ranged from ages 12 to 16. She held a workshop with them on ekphrastic writing and brought them to the Ateneo Art Gallery to select one work from the exhibition Love It and Leave It. So these are all works from the collection. So participants chose one artwork as a subject or source of inspiration for a poetry. Their creative works were compiled in a booklet, which was launched with a poetry reading in the museum. Some of these poems are actually can be seen, have been uploaded on our AAG social media platform and also on our website. So these are just some examples. So this is from or starting from Fernando Omersolo's Dalagang Bukid, and the writer Nathaniel Malong writes about the very idyllic imagery of the Amorsolo's maiden. Another one is on Vicente Manansala's Jeepneys by John Zaki Kent de Vera, who's only 13 years old at that time, so he would be 15. What's interesting in this particular text is if you read it now, it becomes actually more relevant because of the plight of jeepney drivers right now, no? What they're going through, especially during the pandemic. So variations of this activity may be assigned to students, and the AAG website, you can actually go to our website and we have a collections tab, a page where you would see images of different works from our collection. We have over 1,000 works already. It's slowly growing. And we're still in the process of uploading most of them. No? So if you click them, like this, for example, this is a work by Abdul Mari Imao, and you'll see some information. And we welcome you to access or look through our website and view our collection page. You may and use them, no, for your different activities, classroom activities. So aside from ekphrastic writing, artworks may also be used as a starting point for the writing of a short story, for example, or an essay, which is different from a reaction paper. No? Another program we have is Artist in Focus, which we also started during this period of lockdown. And it's part of our mission to, again, promote an understanding and more information about and appreciation about local contemporary artists. So Raymundo Albano was an Atenean also, and he was a poet and also a visual artist and a curator. He actually headed the CCP Museum from 1971 to 1985. No? So these are just a few of the poetry that he did when he was still studying here in Ateneo, which we thought would be a good pairing with his works also in our collection. So as I was saying, it's important for us to continue engagements with artists and to promote that as well to our public. No, they're all they're because they will always be an integral part of our program and of society. So again, on our website, we did a series last May in line with the International Museums Day celebration, focusing on the theme of art for rights. And you will see images of works from our collection that are relevant to this particular theme. So this is Kinupot by Egay Fernandez. Lazaro Soriano again. This is Antonio Austria Santo Niño de Pintores. So these relate to different aspects of freedom, human rights and freedom. Now, why do we feel it's important to continue engagement with artists? They underscore the role of artists in society. No? These images, and also it's important to understand the creative process and experience that they go through. And finally, and quite relevant also at this point, during this period, artists and art are essential. No? I just at this point I want to show how artists have helped different communities, their fellow artists, marginalized communities in different activities, no, like especially fundraising activities. So early on, when the lockdown just started, Raising Green fundraising art exhibition was one of the first art projects that helped in raising funds for frontliners. So they raised funds to buy materials for frontliners, and at the same time raised funds or made it possible for artists to have sales as well. No, so it was a win-win situation. No, I think it was a 50-50 split. Now, recently, a group of artists from UP Diliman, mostly fine arts graduates, started a fundraiser for UP jeepney drivers, and this is very close to us, no? Especially those who studied in UP, because the Ikot jeepney drivers, the drivers from that goes all the way to Philcoa and Patranco, they've been part of our lives. No? So this particular fundraiser, Para-Paraan Paabot Naman, is still ongoing. I think it's ending soon. So I encourage you to look at the images of works that artists have donated, no, for this project. The image on the top right is actually I included that because it was a reaction to a survey that was done not in the Philippines but in Singapore, saying that artists are not essential. And a number of artists actually wore this T-shirt, non-essential. So, and we all know that they're not non-essential, because even musical artists, performers, CCP has had a very active program. No? So, and these are programs that people who are on lockdown are able to access. After the May webinar, we met with teachers here in Ateneo to get a sense of how we can help enhance the learning experience in an online setup. We've had a meeting with Jasper De Leon, Senior High School Art Coordinator, and visual artist Renan Ortiz, who teaches at the Philippine Science High School. They both expressed the need for more materials on our local contemporary artists. And they cited how students are able to access more information about artists from other countries than from our own very talented community of artists. So these are not just about not having enough resources. So it's also about how access to these information can be made available. So as an initial response, we've started to continue with our Art Speak program, now online, and specifically for the needs of high school students, we will be pursuing more of these Art Speak sessions with individual artists. And then they will be online with a specific section in Ateneo Senior High School, so that there will be a more direct communication or discussion. These Art Speak sessions will then be uploaded. The recordings will be uploaded. No? So we cannot accommodate a bigger group because we want it to be a bit more intimate, so that the students can relate or connect closely with the artist, even if it's online. We also thought this would be a good opportunity for artists or for students to see artists in their own studios. So the one we had recently was with Agnes Arellano, although she was not in her studio, but she was here in Ateneo, and it was also in line for a recent exhibit that she held here. We already ended that exhibit. It's an outdoor installation. And just to share with you a few highlights in that almost 2-hour discussion. No? Again, the recording is available on our website. It's taking a while to, okay, there.
Okay, so while
here. Okay.
Okay.
Poem made by Bina Sarkar Elias. We send her photos of the work of Agnes. In the warehouse of my bones.
So it started with a video of an ekphrastic reading. It was another activity that we had months earlier. And then we launched the virtual tour for that exhibition, for Agnes' outdoor exhibition, with her
by fragmenting, overlapping, and joining words, an internal unity, the essence is revealed. A parallel in the visual arts is the surrealist approach, which juxtaposes disparate elements to create a third meaning. For me, Inscape is a spatial device that aims to change the way we are accustomed to viewing sculpture, which is a 360-degree circling around an object.
So let me just
carve into my sculpture.
We also had her.
This is the temple to the moon goddess.
About her practice.
Created when the omphalos notes are positioned from a purely visual point of view. I imagined them as domes in the desert lit up by the light of the full moon. The resulting arrangement is transcribed into a music sheet, which I asked my brother Deo to play on his flute. The accidental melody can be heard on flute was heard earlier during the virtual walkthrough. There's a strong echo. Da, 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 da. This is recumbent Yabium sarcophagus. At the end of the hall, this is the Sanctum Sanctorum. If Gallery 1 was about life, Gallery 2 is about death.
Okay, let me just end there. No, so you can access the entire recording, no, in our website. So although we are initially working with Ateneo High School teachers, we also look forward to co-hosting some Art Speak sessions in the future with other schools. Our for the forthcoming Art Speak sessions, we will be asking our featured artists to touch on basic topics and questions such as why pursue a career as an artist, what informs your practice, and what inspires you. These are just among the questions which teachers suggested to help them and their students in group discussions and individual projects. I'm sorry. Wala. Right now, we are actually in the middle of a call for entries to an essay writing prize, and I'm encouraging teachers who would like to have their students join the contest. You can access the link through our website for the guidelines. It's basically a tandem for the Marciano Galang acquisition prize that we held. We just finished the deliberation and we're releasing the results soon this month. No, and the works that were selected for the exhibition and those that will be acquired eventually by Ateneo Art Gallery will be exhibited together with the winning essay entries. No, the essay writing contest is on until September 6th, so there's still time for you to encourage your students, no, to do that. So even during this period of the pandemic and while we are on lockdown, our aim is for the museum to continue to be a site of cultural production for the community. The direction most museums take now is adopting technology. And as we pivot towards this direction, we need to remind ourselves that in some cases, technology can serve as a means to an end only. We look forward to developing with educators like you more materials as learning tools. One educator named Alan November said, we should be designing assignments that students can't Google. I think this advice is even more relevant today when learning is largely from a distance. Whether we adopt technology or not, we have to be more purposeful in altering the substance and approaches in educational activities to address the skills needed to improve as we adopt new modes of learning. So thank you. That ends my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Boots, for that very
Thank you.
informative presentation. So if you would like to get in touch with Ateneo Art Gallery, you can just screenshot this slide over here. They're very open to collaborations. And as you can see, they have a lot of programs going for them. So again, if you'd like to get in touch, here are their contact details. So moving on, we will be talking about Yuchengco Museum up next, another contemporary art museum, as part of today's lineup. So Danny Alvarez has been with the Yuchengco Museum for 26 years. He is the current president of the Alliance of Greater Manila Area Museums, AGMAM, and the former head of the National Committee on Museums, a subcommittee on cultural heritage under the National Commission of Culture and the Arts. Since 1994, he has been the project overall director for the National Visual Art Competition of the Philippine Art Awards and is also the curator for the Winners Exhibition. One of his latest projects is the Mactan World Museum under Mega World Foundation, where he is the consultant curator. So everybody, let's welcome Sir Danny onto the show. Sir Danny, welcome.
A pleasant good afternoon to all. Yuchengco Museum has positioned itself as an educational resource for its various guests and stakeholders since its establishment in 2005. It has, for its exhibition, published modest catalogs, while regularly upon request conducted guided tours. Most recently, it has used video as an accompanying media to some of its shows to further provide the museum viewer with a deeper understanding of the curatorial intent of these exhibits. This year, while we were about to launch a series of videos of past exhibits as a complement to learning, the pandemic made us want to further retool this initiative. Entitled Archives Unveiled, the video series is promoted in our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and is hosted on the museum's YouTube channel. The major segment of the museum exhibition program is on Philippine contemporary visual arts. Its centerpiece is a collection of works by the first national artist Fernando Amorsolo, as well as the works of the many other national artists. We have paralleled this with an exhibition of works by emerging artists which won in the Philippine Art Awards biennial competition. The Yuchengco Museum, as the official museum partner of Philippine Art Awards, also hosts its awarding ceremony for the winners. The museum believes that providing winning emerging artists the opportunity to be exhibited in a museum setting would widen this artist's exposure and learning experience. The importance of art competitions is articulated by two members of the jury who are in the forefront in the field of Philippine art history and criticism. With the current situation, we continue to engage our viewers with a virtual exhibit tour of these winning works with Jenny Javelosa, our museum director.
Culture is part of everyday life. It's how we breathe, we dress, we talk. It's how we express ourselves in music and dance, in cuisine and in food. Education of this culture is often not done in the country except through printed media. So here at the Yuchengco Museum, we're doing something totally now. Our cultural education material from here on is going to move into digital space online so that people from all over the world can actually download and understand the exhibitions we have here in the Yuchengco Museum. Culture is a constantly changing energy. It is about pop, indigenous, traditional, contemporary also, and this is what we have to try to bring into film, into fora discussion, into dialogues and conversations online, so that even our Filipinos who are abroad, as well as our foreign friends, will understand what Philippine culture is from experts, from those who want to share their culture, and from the beautiful exhibitions that we have here at the Yuchengco Museum.
For the past 24 years, the Philippine Art Awards has been the most sought-after art prize in the country. Woven into its history are winners who have become established names in the local and global art scene, proof of the competition's value and importance in the context of the nation.
The Philippine Art Awards has shown tremendous staying power. A conductor, an organizer of this every 2 years exhibition, the tremendous logistics and enthusiasm and commitment for the organizer behind this award-giving body to continue to encourage the Filipino artists to produce great art.
I think the importance also has something to do with the fact that Philippine Art Awards is an open competition. That all artists, regardless of age, reputation,
Absolutely.
or generation,
Yes.
can can join and be with a very large context of participants. No? So I think this is an important distinction.
The Philippine Art Awards is also distinct in its commitment to truly being national in scope, ensuring that there are submissions from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, not just from the national capital region.
And what is truly admirable is, for 25 years, the logistics behind the Philippine Art Awards has been really admirable in the fact that they really scour, shall we say, the entire archipelago.
PAA also pursues that
Yes.
quite actively to promote this national competition in the region. So there is an active pursuit or solicitation of entries from different parts of the country.
The promise of the national is also what gives the Philippine Art Awards its diversity, as its roster of finalists and winners reveal the inclination of our artists at different points in time.
The competition is an open field in terms of medium. So
Exactly,
this is
yes.
not confined exclusively to painting and sculpture.
Exactly, yes.
The organizers have opened up to a wider range of media like installation, photography,
Exactly.
intermedia. So
Exactly.
I think that is that makes it contemporary in the sense that it stays with the sensibility of the time,
Exactly.
and even anticipates future direction.
And it is also this artistic sensibility that is strongly rooted in nation that the Philippine Art Awards cradles, holding on to the promise of art as a powerful tool towards our sense of identity and community.
A great virtue of the Philippine Art Awards is that the selected winners have chosen very powerful works that reflect the social reality and the emotional reality, the psychological displacement of the Filipino soul.
Judges of the Philippine Art Awards looks at a complex of things. No? When they review the entries, and always for the judge, a good work of art combines skill and discourse. And always the PAA rewards artists who are able to speak to the demands of both the skill and the demands of discourse.
Moving towards its 25th year, the Philippine Art Awards has proven that a competition can be credible witness to the shifts in national discourse, as viewed through the creative spirit of the Filipino artist.
I think many Asian countries have admired us, I think, from a distance. Amazing, these Filipinos, they think differently, is what they say, is that despite the many limitations and struggles that confront and beset the country, a talent, creativity in our islands is something that is truly exemplary, ideal, and really enviable.
The Philippine Art Awards continues to stand strong in its commitment to champion the Filipino artist, as it looks forward to celebrating its 25th year in 2019. This milestone is not ours alone, as it is a milestone for the Filipino artist.
A potential allegory arises from the depiction of an imposing gate that announces posh property. Written on it is the graffiti "Kalayaan," rendered in rust. Beyond the gate is an intimation of the sky, which mimics the chromic atmosphere of the gate. The tension between the two spaces can only be crossed by struggle. In this work, freedom is a rusted and weathered gate waiting to be stormed and opened. This work can be considered a social realist theme in that it has on the graffiti wall the word Kalayaan, the idea of freedom within locked gates, creating a separation of space in the foreground with a gate and the background, which is a sky. So it creates a storyline of wanting that freedom, or perhaps to be able to appreciate the idea of freedom while others are locked in. The title itself, Almost There, in exclamation points, is all about the idea of hope, that it's almost there, the freedom, the gate about to open, and we feel that it's opening by the way the perspective of the drawing is done, the gate about to open to a space that is free. So when you look at the very detailed rendition of the way the gate happens, including the beautiful way the artist has rendered our rust and the graffiti, it shows you how symbolic realism can actually move people even by the pure static composition. When you look at it, it can also mean that the theme talks about two different classes, the poverty in one side and that of wealth on the other, and the great divide that is there, and perhaps a hope that at some point this gate will be gone. And this is what Kalayaan means. When that separation is broken, when there is nothing that can break and keep apart that a people, then freedom would have been won. But for now, even where we are, as we sit on lockdown, this is what we want, the freedom to be able to run into an open space. So this is truly a painting for our times. The work is of mixed media, made out of scraps of wood, metal sheets, mud, stickers, burnt materials, and paints on wood. The scrap of plywood, burnt and rusty materials, mud, soot, charcoal, metal sheets, and sundry items collected from the aftermath of disasters form an assembly of doors intimate the diverse passages into the lives of a society full of contradictions. It is this moment of making that the work is interesting in representing what destruction means when it becomes a creation. An artistic agency serves as a motivation to intervene in the world. What we see here is a constructivist art piece, a mixed media one, which is very attractive. Attractive because of the colors, the textures on the surface, and the way the whole assemblage has been put together. While it is a two-dimensional assemblage, meaning you see it from one space and it has a slight relief meaning a sense of space coming forward and the material coming at you, it still is a two-dimensional assemblage or a work of art. What is wonderful with artists is the way they can see how scrap material could be re-engineered into a composition, into their own mindset of how they see beauty. So this, when you look at it, comes from all the different leftover disaster places. Maybe he must have found this in the junk shops, in streets as he was gathering or walking and looking for materials. And this is where the genius of the artist comes from. When you can create found materials around, bring the meaning of those materials, and come together in a beautiful piece of art that is at once attractive, full of meaning, and very tactile. When an art becomes tactile, meaning you can almost feel the material, you can sense where it's coming from. Like here, the roughness of the wood, the aged wood, you have painted wood, you have paper on pasted on the wood, you have paint splattered. It's a whole sensory experience when you look at a piece of work. And with something like this, it's sometimes just easier to get that sensory feel rather than try to think so hard about what it really is about. Abstract art often is about material. It's also about how you feel about it. And while these pieces of materials have come from disasters, which might have caused sorrow for people, this is where the artist's cathartic transformation brings it into art. That of beauty, despite whatever pain the story might have on the material, that of compositions that bring together disparate pieces of material into one cohesive statement that is art.
Uniquely, the Yuchengco Museum provides a parallel platform to showcase the material culture of Philippine indigenous communities. With scholarly collaboration with specialists, ethnologists, and collectors, the museum hopes to promote and continue to provide reminders of the creative wisdom of our various communities.
The collection of weaving textiles, both the Cordillera and the various other exhibitions we've put together, have tried to focus on sharing the simplicity of understanding our indigenous textiles. There is a revival now in both fashion and in the lifestyle space of being able to use motifs, to use our textiles both for apparel and for home use. And we felt that the designers needed to understand more what this was about. It's not just about using any textile for any purpose and use, when we know that our textiles and our weaving tradition is so rich and often very much ingrained with the rituals of the daily lives of our community and our indigenous cultural peoples. So we needed to bridge this understanding with a whole young generation who think it's just ethnic, who look at it from an exclusive space, which is culture and not part of daily life. So we're riding this revival of pride in our culture, pride in being able to use these textiles and weavings, but making our users, us as normal people, the young and those in the non-culture field, understand that when they use it, they have to have knowledge about what is they're using and therefore have pride and can share this. This becomes therefore our way of allowing culture to be disseminated and understood, and at the same time, the weaving tradition to continue for livelihood, because at the end of it, our indigenous peoples will just continue doing the same thing because it is part of their life. So in bridging this, our collection through an exhibition highlighting the important messages, symbols and stories of these motifs, why the colors are used this way, why the patterns are done such and cannot be done another way, allows us now to bridge so that designers who create these other products that are more lifestyle oriented, or if people who put this in their homes as part of their interior design, can understand that there is something more than just a piece of cloth. It is a weaving tradition that incorporates the spirituality of our indigenous peoples. The motifs that are there, the patterns used, the exact color schemes, for example, that are incorporated for specific designs, are calculatedly theirs alone, per indigenous group, per cultural community. This specific individual angle must be seen and understood.
The skillful interplay of green threads in the warp and weft creates an illusion of pentagons, while the manner in which the weft yarns are inserted produces isosceles right triangles. There are no vertical reflections, but there is a reflectional symmetry with horizontal axis passing through the vertex of the isosceles triangles whose bases are vertical. In addition, the points at which pairs of isosceles red triangles intersect at the respective vertices are centers of 180-degree rotations. In our study, we were fortunate to analyze closely 4 different examples of the Yakan Saputangan, each Saputangan showing a complex geometrical structure. Each of the Saputangan shows a center square, 4 squares at the corners with identical motifs, and strip patterns at the sides. Every finite symmetrical pattern at the center and corner squares adopts the inherent symmetries of a square, which includes a 90-degree rotation about the center of the design, horizontal vertical reflections, and reflections along diagonal lines of the square, each axis passing to the center. The strip patterns along the borders have vertical and horizontal reflections as well as 180-degree rotations about the points of intersection of the reflection axis.
And I'm the guest curator of the exhibit Eloquent Simplicity in Wood and Fiber, running at the Yuchengco Museum at the RCBC Plaza until September 25, 2012. When we were putting together the show, we were driven by one idea. How have wood and fiber been used by the people of the Cordillera in their traditional design and aesthetics? How have these materials, which are so common in the Philippines, been used to enhance life, to enhance facets of life, from the family, from agriculture, to the home. Ngayon, tumungo naman tayo. Let's see how the Cordillera people did it, how the people of the Cordillera did it. Actually, it's been a long fascination of mine ever since I was a kid. And I don't know why. I still can't explain it. But the art and the culture of the Cordilleras has always been a fascination of mine. It's also been a fascination of, and this fascination has led me to, well, to collect, but it's also led me to make friends with with people who have the same passion. You know how it is. When you have a passion, you seek out people who have the same passion. And this show, the main show, brings together pieces from Arman Kating's collection, whose Arman is a dear friend from Baguio City. It brings together some pieces from the collection of national artist Ben Cabrera. It also brings together collections from pieces from the collections of other friends, Vicky Gomez Garcia, Bill Galvin, Greg Sabado of Baguio City. In short, it was like, coming together with friends and putting together nice pieces that we felt showed the culture and the design sensibility of the people of the Cordillera. We divided the exhibit into around 5 parts. No? The first is food, very basic. Diba? Kasi subsistence farming, agriculture, the need to live, the need to produce crops, the need to store food properly is a very vital part of any human culture, especially two examples of bontok or kankanay meat containers. They didn't have refrigeration then. Sabihin nyo ng malamig doon, but they didn't have refrigeration then. And salted meat would have been stored in containers like this to keep over some time. So you can see that even with the simplest things that are used to keep meat, and this one is essentially a miniature version that's used to keep salt. But you can see that even in the most functional things, there's an element of design. There's an element of wanting to make things beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, and wanting to make things meaning. Central to Cordillera culture, central to Philippine culture is rice. The production of it, the storing of it, the preparation of it. And several of the objects that we picked for the show reflect how important the process of rice preparation is, the process of preparing it for the table, for storage in the granaries. One of the objects that I really, really like is this. It's called a kumbayuhan. In short, sa atin, lusog ang tawag dito. No? It's a mortar. That's really all it is. But unlike most mortars, which are very plain, hourglass shape, this mortar has 4 dancing figures around it. That's the traditional dance position of the ifugao, which are the people who made this piece, it's ifugao. And you can see it's very, very old. You can see that it's really quite worn and has lots of use. But you can also see, still vaguely, the four figures who are dancing around the bowl, the main bowl. It shows, I think, for me, that utilitarian objects like a pumbayuhan or like a lusong could also have ritual significance, could also be decorated in ways that express just how important the act of pounding and preparing rice was. And it's almost festive. You know, they're dancing around as the rice is being prepared. So objects like this show us that utilitarian objects can be imbued with a certain meaning, a certain joy in this case. For me, joy and importance in the preparation of the rice.
We shall continue to recalibrate our museum programs in order to fulfill our mission as heritage keepers. The new virtual forum has been tapped to make sure that our viewers are informed continuously. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Danny, for that presentation. If you'd like to get in touch with Yuchengco Museum, please just approach them on their respective social media and we're sure that they will respond. So for people, I guess, who are concerned about your certificates, we will be posting the link by Vibal that we will put on our event page and on the comment section down below. So again, we are repeating, for the certificates, we will be putting it up on our event page and on the comment section down below. For our live streams next week, we will be having an all-women art exhibit called 7.23 on the Ilo Museum of Contemporary Art page on August 14 at 7:23 p.m. That's right. Next week on Friday at 7:23 p.m., we will be launching an art exhibit on Ilo Museum of Contemporary Art's page. So yeah, we've talked about Ilamoca last week, and then so next week we'll be having an art exhibit for those who are interested. As for Chinatown Museum, on August 15 at 2 p.m., History Matters is making a comeback, and we will be having a virtual urban sketch around Binondo with Aurelio Castro III on the Chinatown Museum page. So again, for next week on the Chinatown Museum page, we will be having a virtual sketch walk around Binondo at August 15 at 2 p.m. If you want to catch this talk again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Museum Matters, together with where you can watch our other videos with other museum collaborators. So the videos from 2 weeks ago and last week, you will be able to watch them again at our Museums Matters YouTube channel. We encourage you to RSVP. Oh, okay. So if you're interested with any of the museums that we've worked with, we've given you the contact details. Please get in touch with them, and we are sure that they will respond and would want to help you. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.